What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So more and more information around the PlayStation 5 has been coming out since that big blowout reveal event for the system. It looks like we're finding out a bit more about why it's so large, which seems obvious, but we'll talk about that. But also the idea of this being a bit more customizable than previous systems. And I'm not even talking about the overall user experience. I'm talking about the console. And we have to go over Jim Ryan, who made a statement about the pricing for the PlayStation 5, and it's got the internet kind of worked up. And then here comes Microsoft kind of talking a bit more about their smart delivery, even telling us which games will be able to support it starting at launch. And Resident Evil 8, or Village, we saw it, but it turns out it's not going to be around for previous generation consoles, and we're starting to get some reasons and speculation as to why that is. As always, guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit the like button, helps out a ton. And if you're brand new here, hit the right subscribe button down below as we head towards 500,000 subscribers. And we're gonna start today with Devolver Digital. Now, every year, we of course have a ton of E3 presentations, but none of them are anything like what Devolver Digital does. They like to do a lot of kind of satire and stuff for the gaming community. Remember last year they did that Nintendo Direct-like presentation that was a bit crazier, we'll say. Well, this is what they tweeted out about this year for their presentation. Devolver Direct 2020 will be mid-July if all goes well with production. This year we'll have some updates and release dates on upcoming games and a couple of new games to reveal, all with gameplay. Can't wait to share more soon. So that's good news that they will at least have something. It'll probably be, again, as they say, digital, of course, not going to be taking a stage probably anywhere, and it could be similar, I guess, to what they did with their own little Nintendo Direct. The issue runs into, of course, people being able to actually get together to put these presentations together for us, but hey, it'll be interesting to see what games they have and kind of the route they go with this, because they like to make these, I guess, more comedy-driven and, again, a lot of satire, so we'll see how they handle the whole situation in mid-July. Also, do you remember Blood Rain? This popped up in the news yesterday, and I couldn't believe it because it's been a long time since I saw this game, this IP at all. Now, I know in 2011 there was like a side-scrolling one, but I remember it back on like the PlayStation 2. There were two of them, Blood Rain 1 and 2, and it was kind of like this 3D action-based game. But check this out here. There is a company, Ziggurat Interactive, that's acquired not only Blood Rain, but also Advent Rising, which, wow, I haven't heard Advent Rising in a long time. That was on the original Xbox way back in the day, but they actually acquired those IPs and then a few others from Majesco Entertainment, and it sounds like they might do something with these. It would be interesting to see how Blood Rain could possibly do in the coming years with the new generation coming up, or maybe they look to take the older ones and move them around and port them and update them, because that seems to be what their plans are currently, at least for now, is to go and get the PC versions and kind of update them a bit for current, I guess, just overall builds and GPUs in your PCs. So odd to see Blood Rain pop up in Advent Rising, but hey, if they want to get those updated and then maybe start porting them around, I mean, THQ Nordic has seen success grabbing older games and bringing them up to new platforms, so why not? Also, for anyone out there who wanted some sort of hope that maybe Atlus was going to be taking the PC space a bit more seriously, well, it turns out Persona 4 Golden was handled by Atlus Japan internally, that port to PC, and now they have, of course, their own Steam page and all this. Originally, at least before, we had, Catherine Classic, that was on PC. Well, apparently that was handled more by Sega International, but having Atlus Japan take this and port it over, Persona 4 Golden, that is making people wonder if, wait, does that mean they're getting ready to maybe move some other stuff, getting more used to the port process, going from something like the Vita to PC and seeing how all of that works out? Could this be something they're testing the waters with and seeing how it worked out internally with their porting team? Maybe. I mean, wouldn't that be crazy if all of a sudden a bunch of Atlus's stuff started just popping up on Steam, like, continuously throughout the year? That would be really, really cool to see, because I'm sure they got the message when that thing hit the top of the Steam sales charts and money just kind of rolled into their bank account. They probably took a look at that and said, what else can we go get? And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. We're gonna start right away with the PlayStation 5 information that seems to keep kind of rolling out there. And a lot of this has to do with LinkedIn. Yeah, Matt McLaurin keeps apparently talking about this thing on LinkedIn. Now, he, of course, is working on the user interface as one of the heads for that, so he has a lot of information that I guess he could share, and he's decided to, which is interesting. Now, a lot of the stuff has been getting kind of deleted throughout the days, but people have been screen capping parts of it and writing it down and all this, so there is a record of these different things that he's been saying. But of course, one question was, why is the system so large? And this is what he had to say. Thermals. This gen is little supercomputers. While the 7nm process delivers amazing heat performance for the power is very extreme. I understand it's not for everyone, but no good art is. Still, I think it's refined enough to tuck away quietly. The additions are going to be lit. And then going even further than that, he also talked about how the PS5 will be more customizable, the system itself overall, than the previous generations, which of course is making people think, oh, special editions? Could we get some really cool looking ones? And you know what? There's a lot of surface area on either side with those two white fins sort of all the way up and down. So yeah, people have already started doing all kinds of cool renders and photoshops of this thing. And of course, the matte black looks great, I think, just like all one color, matte black looks fine. And then you also see things like Dragon Ball. You see, I did see a Spider-Man one, which, yeah, that would make sense. And I'm sure eventually we will get a Spider-Man PlayStation 5 with how the original Spider-Man sold on the PS4. It would be crazy not to, but it would probably be all red on the side with the white Spider-Man logo. Who knows, maybe they have like webbing going around it. There'd be a lot of really cool things they could do, but it did get me thinking a bit. Yes, it has to be this large because, as Matt says, the thermals. We talked about that in a video over the weekend where I tried to kind of piece together how they'll be cooling it, but it does sound like they have the idea for how the system was going to work, and then they threw it to their design team and said, hey, how can we fit all of this stuff into a box that doesn't look terrible? And you know what? They did what they could, and here we now have a system that could not only, I guess, cool better overall, but maybe come up with some neat designs on the sides. And it made me wonder, hey, could those white fins pop off and maybe you change them out like we did with a 360 faceplate? That would be pretty cool, actually, because then you wouldn't have to buy an entire system. You could just buy the special edition faceplates on either side that come out, and I guess it comes down to how difficult it is to pop those fins off. Do they just kind of slide on and click down, or is there a screw? Hard to say there, but I mean, we're already going to be opening up the system somewhat to pop in the NVMe drive anyway, so maybe one of those fins has to be popped off to actually get to that point. But the big thing that got people really talking, of course, is the PlayStation 5 price. And Jim Ryan did talk with the BBC in an interview, and one of the questions had to do with pricing around the system and the current economics, the overall economic status right now in the world, and this is what he had to say about that. Conventional wisdom and history show that our business is one of the more recession-proof businesses, but I think this will sharpen our need to ensure that we focus on getting the value equation right, and I emphasize value as opposed to price. So you hear that, and you think, oh boy, how much is this PlayStation 5 system going to cost? Now, we all believe, at least at this time, that most likely the option that pretty much everyone will look to, which is the one with the disk drive, will be about $500. And some are even thinking, could it be $600? Could it be $700? I still think $500 is where they're going to place it. And keep in mind, for Sony, that's $100 more than they probably wanted in the first place, since they launched the PS4 and then launched the PS4 Pro, both at $400. This will be $100 more than their previous generation. So they're looking to somehow add value, as Jim Ryan is saying here. I don't think that means, oh, we're looking at a $700 system, and that's the value is going to be the overall system and how well it's built. No, like Astro's Playroom, for example, is going to come with the system. To them, that's like, oh, it's coming with the game, right? Like the Wii with Wii Sports, just as an example. Now, I don't think Astro's Playroom is going to move PlayStation 5 systems like Wii Sports moved the Wii, but they could also pack some other things in. However, that's kind of what I'm getting at here. I think it's $500. I don't think they want to tell us about that right now because it's not this big gotcha moment towards Microsoft, like we got it to $400, we're good. It's going to cost the same as the Series X. It really comes down to the compelling software they can offer, which so far so good there. They've shown some really cool stuff, and anything they can pack in to kind of increase the overall perceived value of the system at $500. Also, I want to point out how awesome the PlayStation 5 would look with purple fins on the sides, right? Those white side pieces changed out for purple, so I expect Sony to get on that one. Next up, let's talk about Star Wars Squadrons. It was officially revealed, kind of. I mean, we have the idea of what the game is going to be, which looks like it's going to be a 5 versus 5 kind of dogfighting, battle it out type thing. We don't know if, I guess there's gonna be objectives where you probably protect the large cruisers that are rolling through space, and it's mostly X-Wings versus TIE fighters. It looked like they had a number of different ships, of course, but I gotta be honest, I like what I'm seeing here, and it sounds like it's not gonna be a fully priced game at $40. It's coming out October 2nd, and get this, no microtransactions. Yeah. You figure, we all think EA and we think immediately microtransactions, but recently they've been trying to kind of phase those out a little bit in anything that's not FIFA. Okay, sure, I guess in Madden too. But for the most part, to see Star Wars once again get a bit of a different treatment after what we saw of Fallen Order from what EA has typically done in the past, I at least like what I've seen here. Now, what they showed us was just CGI. All right, we didn't see any gameplay. However, later on this week, on Thursday, they said at their EA Play event, they will have gameplay for this game. And I like what I'm at least getting at here. It's coming on the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and the PC, so look forward to it there later on this year, October 2nd. We just gotta see more or less what the gameplay is gonna be, how the overall customization of your pilot will end up, because it does look like there's going to be some customization options as you play online against other people, and just, I guess, how robust that single player is. It sounds like it's going to be a smaller overall experience for single player with a large emphasis on multiplayer, and they're also throwing VR in for the PlayStation 4 and PC. So far so good from what I'm seeing here, but we still got to see the gameplay later on this week. Next up, let's talk about Microsoft and their smart delivery system that they keep pushing, which mostly is to try to put pressure on Sony, because Sony has not explained at all how this is going to work on their side when it comes to buying, say, Last of Us Part 2 now, like this week. Well, then when the PS5 comes out, will that game that you just bought on even the PlayStation Network automatically upgrade to the PS5 version that we all know is gonna happen? Come on now, right? That's something we don't know. Or what about Cyberpunk? Because Microsoft has made it very obvious on their side that if you buy Cyberpunk, for example, in September, hey, it will upgrade automatically to the Series X or maybe Series S version in the holiday season when the system comes out. In fact, they shared a large list of games that will support it pretty much right out of the gate. You can see that here, which, like I said, Halo Infinite, Cyberpunk, those make sense. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, we heard about that. Destiny 2, we heard about that one as well. But then you see like Dirt 5, Scarlet Nexus, Chorus, Vampire, Yakuza Like a Dragon. That's a big one considering that's generally viewed as a Sony game, of course. But here's Microsoft saying that if you buy it on their Xbox One now, you'll also be able to have it on the Series X. I mean, it's out later on this year anyway, so it could even come out around the time that the Series X, I guess, comes out. But still, to have this large of a list here with several games that will make that upgrade is a pretty big deal, and I think a win on Microsoft's side. I just hope more or less that it gets Sony to kind of respond and talk about their own like cross-gen, cross-buy setup here going from the PlayStation 4 to the PlayStation 5, because they talked about value, and that's value right there for someone who wants to buy the PS4 game now and then also have it on the PS5 when that releases. They've talked about backwards compatibility. I just want to make sure that the digital purchases will follow over, and of course they'll be optimized for the PlayStation 5, like what Sony or Microsoft saying for the Series X. We'll see, but hopefully all of this pushing as to something that's not too new for what Microsoft is doing now between the Xbox One S and the Xbox One X actually pushes Sony to let us know and even do it in the first place. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Resident Evil Village, which is Resident Evil 8. We saw this unveiled during the Sony event, and I think it looked pretty good. It was strange, though, as people started to go through the footage. Visually, parts of it looked different from other parts. Like, some parts looked way better than others, and then we find out, especially if you go to the website now, it's not going to be on last generation platforms. It's going to be on the PlayStation 5, the Series X, and PC as they have it currently listed, which surprised a lot of us since there is a large install base that they could have it released on and have this a cross-gen game? Apparently not. It seems to be only a next-gen game coming out sometime in 2021, which even goes against some of the rumors that were out there as this being a cross-gen game. Well, Dusk Golem did take to Twitter kind of attempting to explain what happened here, and what seems to have happened is the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One versions were kind of left behind. They were essentially canceled because Capcom decided to move in the direction of taking advantage of what these newer systems will be able to do, specifically the SSD and just overall more horsepower, but it sounds like they're going for a graphics overhaul to take advantage of these newer systems, and they want to make sure there's no load time, so it's like a seamless open world, or seamless world, I should say, not necessarily massively open world, but seamless world that you kind of explore, and there's never really any loading times that you see or observe through, where unskippable cutscenes or your character just all of a sudden forgets how to run, right? Hey, it's at least interesting to see Capcom make that jump so quickly to next gen, since there's a lot of people they could have actually sold this to previously. And who's to say Resident Evil 4, I mean, that could be a cross-gen game in like 2022 with some of the rumors there, but I mean, maybe they've decided, hey, these Resident Evil games, they're just going to be on next gen. We want to take advantage of the technology that's there. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Alex saying, people were very mad at Ubisoft for Valhalla when they forgot that just a few years ago in 2014, they defended their decision by saying 30 frames per second made Assassin's Creed Unity more cinematic. And even that was pushing it because that game definitely tanked in some areas. I mean, hey, maybe 14 frames per second cinematic too. I don't know, Ubisoft, you tell me. But I mean, Ubisoft is interesting. They probably could have made Assassin's Creed Valhalla 60 frames across the board on next generation platforms, but they want to make the game look as good as possible because, to be honest, that's what sells games anyway to the mainstream. If the game looks amazing and they could put up some awesome looking screenshots, whether they use them for like marketing in like Walmart or something, or they play trailers on TV, if it looks that good, people probably won't care, for the most part, that it's 30 frames. Now, I would prefer 60, and you know what? That option that Demon's Souls is apparently being touted to have doesn't sound too bad if Assassin's Creed would have it too, so we at least have the option to go from 30 to 60 if we don't care about how, I don't know, reflective the metal spear is or something. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about today, whether it is the PlayStation 5 and the pricing. They say they want to emphasize value to you. Does that mean that it's going to be more than $500, or does that mean that Sony recognizes this is going to launch at $100 more than what their PlayStation 4 system did, so they have to figure out a way to kind of meet you halfway and say, hey, here's something else that we're going to throw in the box for you to make it feel like it's worth it. Also, what about Resident Evil 8? Do you think it's smart for Capcom to say, hey, this is going to be next gen only, we're going to be there early and I guess maybe sell throughout the first couple years of the system's life right away? Let me know if it's a good idea for them to take advantage of the early adopters then, or make it cross-gen. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.